What's up guys, Evasion here and welcome back to another video. In today's video is going to be a quick 8.2 Subtlety Rogue Guide. Now I kind of feel like I have a better handle on things than I did when the patch first dropped, so I can give you guys some better information. We're going to try and run over this stuff as efficiently as possible. Alright, in this video we're going to run over a few things. We're going to talk about talents, the traits you want, which essences to use. I'm going to talk a little bit about trinkets, and of course the stat priority, and maybe I'll include a rotation as well to try and help you guys. It's not a whole lot different from my end of season guide that I put out a little while ago, and for those of you that are interested, we are going to have an assassination guide up on the channel a couple days after this. Alright, first up here we're going to talk about the talents. In the previous video you guys did see me playing that 3-dance build with enveloping shadows. However, in this guide I'm going to talk about the original build that I was playing. I do like it a little bit better in this patch, but they're both still good, and we're going to talk about that here quick. So Weapon Master, first off, you don't really want this in PvP, it's kind of too weak. It's just inconsistent. Find Weakness is only 20% in PvP, but it is going to help you out in every situation that you go for that dance. They'll give you a little bit extra burst damage. It's not amazing, and Gloomblade is only situational. I don't even use it in this expansion. In past X packs, it was good to hit through Paladins when they press Blessing of Protection, as it does deal shadow damage. So if you can fit that into your rotation, it is good still, but Find Weakness is pretty much the best overall in every situation. So just pick Find Weakness and forget about it. Next row, we're going to use Subterfuge pretty much all the time. Now, if you are going to go for that 3-dance build with enveloping shadows, you are going to use Night Stalker instead. It's going to give you that 12% damage to try and cover up for the loss of dark shadows. So you can either go Night Stalker. Holy, we got some dialogue volume going on here, boys. Let's fix that up. Holy. Okay, anyway. So you can have either Night Stalker and Enveloping Shadows, or you can have the way the build is right here. We got Mark for Death all the time. The reason you want this is because in 2v2 Arena and 3v3 you're going to be using Mark for Death for Kidney Shot, for setups for your team, and to be able to get those instant 5 combo points is amazing. It creates a really, really powerful clean opener that you can't get with the other 2 talents in this row, and I feel like it's just great in every situation. In the next row, it kind of depends what you're doing. If you're doing 2v2 with a mage, I recommend Soothing Darkness. If you're doing 3v3, recommend picking up Elusiveness, as it's definitely better for getting trained and stuff like that. But just having that little bit extra healing of Soothing Darkness in 2v2 is really, really good. But 3v3, and if you have a healer, Elusiveness is going to do better. So choose accordingly. The next bracket here, we got Shot in the Dark. Shot in the Dark, in my opinion, is the best talent that you can use here, pretty much mandatory in every situation. The free cheap shot is going to give you way more damage than the 5% in PvP from Prey on the Weak. And Night Terrors is, you know, maybe you could see some use in like RBGs or something like that, but there's more powerful AoE slows. Overall, this talent's not really worth it. Next talent row, we got either Dark Shadows or Enveloping, and basically Dark Shadows, you're going to be playing this if you have Subterfuge. It's going to give you 15% increased damage when you're in PvP combat, and it's going to give you that extra little oomph you need to try and kill people. If we had the option, honestly guys, I would play Subterfuge and 3-dance, but this is needed to make ourselves more bursty in general. The reason I like this build over the other build, although once again both are good, is that you gain 3% more damage in PvP versus Night Stalker, and also Night Stalker is only for abilities where Dark Shadows is like white hits and stuff like that as well, which I find to be a lot better because of our stat priority, which we'll get into in a second. For the last row here for PvP, Master of Shadows is pretty much what you're going to want to pick all the time, and pairs especially well with having Enveloping Shadows, but I mean it's good anyway. You're not really losing value for only having 2 dances. Just a good talent to have. It creates efficiency and stuff like that. Secret Technique does okay damage, but it's not. It does AoE. It's gonna break stuff on you. It's not reliable, but it does have its uses in other places of the game. Alright, talking about the honor talents now, guys. We have Relentless. If you're a human, you should play Relentless almost all the time. Times when you might switch to Gladiator's Medallion, though, is if you are against something like a Mage Rogue Mirror, and you want to have that Gladiator's Medallion to get out of the enemy rogue's blind or a situation like that. Other than that, I pretty much always use Relentless as a human. And if you're an Orc or any other race, you might just want to take Gladiator's Medallion, as Relentless does not stack with the Orc racial. As far as honor talents go, I use Cold Blood pretty much every game. You should never swap out of this. It's like how you get your extra burst damage in PvP. Shadowy Duel, I use almost all the time. There's a couple situations where you could stop this out for maneuverability, but thanks to essences, we can kind of get around that, which I'll talk about in a minute. And Smoke Bomb, I have this all the time, just great utility. Other things you could swap in though in place of Smoke Bomb, you could use Death from Above if you want to try to... You don't use Death from Above for increased damage. You use this so that you can avoid CC, as it does have some immunity frames in its animation. And other than that here, guys, there's not too many other useful talents. Silhouette could be kind of troll, but it requires you to make extreme use of the defensive effect to even get value from it. I kind of love this talent, but there's no room to take it. Everything else really isn't that great here. And I think that just about covers it. Pretty much you just want Cold Blood, Shadowy Duel, and as you see from an essence, I have maneuverability, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Alright, next up here we're going to talk about stats. Basically it's the same as I said previously in that last video. You want Mastery and Versatility. Like I also had mentioned, Versatility is definitely the more popular choice to have a bulk of, but thanks to gear RNG, this is kind of the best I can do for now, and I don't mind it. This works very, very well for me. Makes my vis rates hit rather hard, and the cool thing about Versatility that has kind of also increased its value is that if you're using an offensive essence, like say Crucible of Flame, having that extra versatility does definitely contribute to the damage of the on-use portion. Alright, so in 8.2 we gain these things called essences. This pretty much made alts really hard to play, and you gotta farm these like crazy. For most of you guys that don't know, maybe there's some of you that don't know, I have played with a couple people who have been confused about what this system is. You have to do a quest that if you're on Alliance you can obtain on the boat where you do your table missions. It's called the Wolf's Offensive, and it sends you to Najatar. You do some intro quests, and eventually you get a summons from Magni to beat a short quest chain, and you will eventually unlock your first essence, which is Crucible of Flame. You can unlock these through various methods. That would be another video for another time to go into depth. Basically, you get this one from PvP called Conflict and Strife. All you have to do to obtain this is cap, and when you open your chest on Tuesday, you're going to get this. Depending on your rank and your rating and stuff like that, you're going to get better ones. And getting rank 3 is rather easy. I think it might be 2100, but even rank 2 is very good. What this does is it's going to give you maneuverability all the time, even in PvE. And when you're stunned, the defensive benefit of your versatility is going to be doubled. So for me, whenever I get stunned, my versatility is, I'm going to get 12% less damage taken, which is very, very good. Kind of helps you survive. Like, it's really good against mage rogue and stuff like that, but the main reason that we take this is for that maneuverability and the proc versatility that is on the minor effect. The cool thing about this also is that just priorly, you had to drop Shadowy Duel in order to get maneuverability, and it felt really bad because Shadowy Duel is one of the main strengths and reasons to play sub in the first place, and without it, it's feels kind of stale because the only thing sub really has going for it is its insane utility and somewhat decent burst damage, which kind of pairs well with all this utility stuff. In addition to that, getting into the minor parts here, I use the Memory of Lucid Dreams minor. This thing also, when it procs at rank 3, it's going to give you extra versatility, which shoves your stats even higher, which is pretty damn cool. And when I get to level 65 here, I will likely either use the minor of Crucible Flame or the... where is it at here? I gotta unlock this. If I ever get this unlocked, I will use this minor essence because it applies... gives your abilities like a high chance to proc a spike, which does some damage, and it's going to be also really good. But in general, you want to focus on having Conflict and Strife and Lucid Dreams. Or if I was going to use Crucible of Flame, rank 3 here, I would put the Conflict and Strife minor effect right here in this slot once I unlock this, and keep the Memory of Lucid Dreams. So just on screen here, I'll kind of write out the order of 2 different builds I would use for this. It's kind of personal preference, and it depends if you really need that effect of Conflict and Strife's major effect. Alright, next we're going to talk about the traits too. As you guys can see here, we're going to be trying to go for those 3 Knight's Vengeance traits. What this trait's going to do is after you apply your Nightblade, you're going to get a little buff for about 8 seconds, and it's going to increase the damage of your next eviscerate by quite an amount. This definitely helps with burst, and it's going to help you get those kills that you're after in those small windows. The other thing that's really good to have when you're a sub is you want 1 per stance trait, and what this does is whenever you press Shadow Dance, you're going to get 2 combo points, And so this allows you to build for eviscerates very, very quickly. And sometimes you can just go in and like dance cheap shot and boom, you have 4 combo points already, which is pretty cool. If you already had Nightblade set up, you're ready to burst for an eviscerate, especially if you get a proc from your passive, which is shadow techniques right here. Your auto attacks have a chance to generate combo points, so basically you'll get one of these every, few seconds, every couple auto attacks. I think it's like, I feel like it's actually fixed. It's like every 4 or 5 auto attacks, you're gonna get 1 proc of this. And you can end up leading to some pretty quick bursts in combination with that trait. Other options too to include is I like the Engineering Helm because this thing here, Auto Self-Cauterizer, helps you deal with things like Assassination Rogues and maybe Feral Druids if you actually run into one. And then also I like the second row gizmo thingy here. Basically what this does is has a chance to proc you some haste and movement speed, which if you are playing 3 dance does stack with Night Stalker. But if you're playing if you're just playing Starrefuge like I am, it's also nice to have. It's like 25% movement speed proc sometimes. And honestly, I've been able to LOS and survive and get a re-stealth because of it many times. Lasting for 10 seconds is a pretty decent duration. Other than that, the defensive traits don't actually matter that much because of a nerf recently. All defensive effects have like a 20%. They only matter 20% of their full amount in PvP. But other than that, guys, you just want the 3 Knight's Vengeance and the 1 First Dance trait. Last thing I want to talk about in this video before showing you guys a quick rotation here is the trinkets. Pretty much in 2s, I'm always using Safeguard, even though they nerfed it recently to be only able to proc every 3 minutes. That's more than enough for a 2s game because a lot of the time you're going to die if you're playing Mage Rogue because you don't have healing anyway, so you're only going to get that 1 Safeguard in there likely. So that nerf didn't really matter too much for this. And then in addition to that, you want to use the Maledict. Maledict is a really, really good trinket. Since sub doesn't actually burst a whole lot through your stun rotation, like you put out a couple of eviscerates and stuff like that, it kind of diminishes the value of having an on-use trinket, although that on-use trinket can be a valid option as well against certain comps. Pretty much anything that's going to be passively healing, like a Resto Druid or a Resto Shaman, I would definitely validate using Maledict over that. And if you have this punch card trinket, guys, instead too, you can use this as well. Instead of Maledict in a lot of these situations. I have had some success using it, but the problem with using this as sub is it is hard to keep up your stun lock on the target and press this, so you kind of have to get creative and use it at weird times in order to get its full effect. And sometimes I just haven't really enjoyed doing that, so I kind of switch back and forth. But other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot to say about the trinkets. Definitely Safeguard and Maledict are safe options still, even though Maledict's design is different now. I don't like it as much as they did before, but it's still plenty viable. Alright, we were hoping we could film the whole video here, but it looks like this thing's immune to stuns. Stupid turnip. Alright, so here we are at the train dummy, and we're going to go over a quick opener here. We're going to try, for any sub-rogue opener, the idea is that you want to keep the target stunned, and you want to apply your Nightblade early so that you can get the effect of your traits here, the Knight's Vengeance traits, and that's going to give you a bigger eviscerate. We're going to assume that we're using Mark for Death on an off-target for CC, as that's usually going to be the case in especially a 2 situation. And even in 3s, you're going to use it a lot of the time for kidney off the opener. So having Mark for Death isn't always going to be relevant, but I will show you guys an opener with Mark for Death afterwards. So we're going to go in, we're going to press. We'll say we have Blades up too, it's a big opener. Cheap Shot, Nightblade, all the buttons. Cheap Shot off that, another Eviscerate, baby Cheap Shot off. Target was stunned the entire time. And there you go. If it was too fast, obviously, to watch as it's going on, I do have the Trophy GCD add-on on the bottom. A good thing to note about this add-on, though, is that it is going to show Nightblade multiple times when I only press it once. I don't know why it does that. I believe it also might show Shadow Dance a couple times. Alright, this is going to be an opener for if you were to use Mark for Death for damage. Basically, we're going to go in and we're going to Cheap Shot, Dance, Nightblade, Cold Blood, Symbols of Death, Mark for Death Eviscerate, and do another Cheap Shot. Then we're going to follow it up with a Shadow Strike and a Cheap Shot and another Eviscerate. The one perk of this opener is that if you do the first dance traits, when you apply your Nightblade, it's actually going to be a 4-point Nightblade instead of a quick little 2-point Nightblade like in the other opener. But other than that, um, you don't gain a whole lot in my opinion for losing that off-target CC, but sometimes you got the 5 combo points anyway when you're going into the opener, so you can just dump those for a kidney and then go with Mark for Death on the kill target, which is pretty good. So it'll probably look something like this. The only thing to note there about that previous opener is that after the Mark for Death Eviscerate, when I threw in that Shadow Strike, it did create a small gap. There used to be this glyph we had a long time ago in MoP, kind of a side note. It increased cheap shot's duration to 4.5 seconds. Having that actually got rid of that gap, so openers like this used to be a lot more possible. So just be wary of that in the situation. It's usually better to skip that exact Shadow Strike if you're going for an opener like that and just keep this target stunned. You're going to lose out on a little bit of damage. But like I said before, a lot of that could be the difference between a Greater Pyro or some other relevant spell finishing its cast, hitting the target, especially if you're playing with, like, also Destro Warlock, it could be the same situation. But even just chaining together 2 stuns is enough for a Destro Warlock. They can usually sneak in like a couple Chaos Bolts. Another thing I guess I could include here before ending this video is comps for Subtlety Rogues. I know I didn't say I was going to talk about this at the start, but just while we're here, I might as well give you guys a couple ideas. Sub is definitely weaker as far as viability goes compared to Assassination, but if you love the spec like me, you'll find a way to make it work. And in my opinion, the best kind of comps you can play is Fire RMP. Frost RMP is okay too, but you have a little bit hard time getting a kill against certain comps. But if you're just trying to play around like lower, not a low rating, but like lower 2K to like 2200 area, where I know I spend a lot of my time playing around there. Frost RMP with like Dark Archangel could definitely work very, very well. For a more competitive option though, you could consider something like Sub Frost RMD with a Resto Druid. Now Resto Druids did get a little bit of a nerf back a couple weeks ago, I believe, but they're still very, very strong, and definitely very strong in that comp. Assassination does perform definitely better in RMD as well, but like I said, those are comps I would recommend trying to play as far as making sub viable goes in the 3s bracket. Another honorable mention-ish comp I would say is Survival Subtlety Discipline Priest. Can be very, very nasty in the hands of people who know what they're doing. Get those really quick setups. The only con to that comp in general is that you need to be highly aggressive and constantly put out trap chains with kidney shot and stuff like that while maintaining pressure on the target. But other than that, as far as 3's bracket goes, it's pretty much that. In 2's bracket, basically the best things you can play are with a Fire Mage. Other mage specs work too, but they're not going to be nearly as powerful as playing with that Fire Mage. That is definitely the go-to. I have played a little bit last season at the end with Holy Pally, and I played a little bit this season with Holy Paladin and Discipline Priest. They're definitely weak by comparison, but you could see some moderate success with those. But as far as 2s goes, honestly guys, just stick with Fire Mage. You're going to have a lot of fun just setting up the mage to one-shot people. That's what sub's all about, those setups, getting the team to one-shot the target. Unfortunately, we're not the burst bot we used to be, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and also if you're hyped for the Assassination video, because I know a lot of you guys play Assassin, and I definitely wish I had some more Assassination stuff up on the channel. Just I don't enjoy it as much, and also on top of that, I just haven't had the chance to play a lot of Assassination stuff lately. I'm trying to push up my 3's rating a little bit. Kind of slacking on that. Was hoping to actually play some tonight, but I'm not sure if I'll actually get there. But till next time, guys, like, comment, subscribe for more, and we will see you all again next time. Oh, and one last shameful advertisement too. If you guys are interested in Twitch streams, I'm gonna be streaming a lot more next week. Come classic time, and we're gonna try and get some streams up for you guys. So be sure to come hang out, say hi, let me know you came from the YouTube, and we'll see y'all there. Ciao.